So we have established that DGen is a terrible influence on you because I got you into sports betting, and you only drink apparently when you talk to me. So
Casino trip, full of chips. Wanna flip, double it.
welcome to the Full of Chips podcast, the only chips you'll never lose, where the stakes are high, the takes are bold, and the conversations are always full of chips. With your hosts, Chris the Dice DGen and Craig from Old Bay Craps, you're tuned in to Full of Chips, the podcast where we dive into our experiences gambling and stories straight from the casino floor. Whether you're a seasoned pro at the craps table or just curious what the buzz is about, you're in the right place. Each week, we break down the games, talk to the experts, and bring you tips that could tilt the odds in your favor. So grab your lucky charm, stack your chips, and let's roll into today's episode. What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 31 of the Full of Chips podcast, the only chips you will never lose, with your hosts, Chris the Dice DGen and Craig from Old Bay Craps. Craig, how are we today?
I don't know how we're doing today. I don't know whether to be pissed. I don't know whether to be exhausted. I don't know whether to be downtrodden. Maybe all three. And is this what happens when you do it? You just go for the alcohol?
Yes, so I think the Full of Chips podcast is turning Craig into an alcoholic, but that's okay. If that's the worst thing,
interesting. Which is interesting because OBC only drinks during the podcast.
during the podcast. Yes. So we have established that DGen is a terrible influence on you because I got you into sports betting, and you only drink apparently when you talk to me. So win-win for DGen.
If you had me doing cigars by April, it'll be a goddamn miracle. I don't know.
I mean, we can take that up.
No.
I know a guy. No, we won't be doing that. But the only reason I won't be doing that is because I only smoke cigars at celebratory events and stuff. Because I freaking hate the smell.
You know, it's funny. I think we heard about what the AC crew did last week. Amazing. Lou put his report out. If we were part of that, that might be the celebratory Black and Mild, or Swisher Sweet. Is that what?
No, those are see, if those are the cigars you're talking about, then I can understand why you don't like cigars. Because those things are like what you roll up and put a J in, because those things are vile.
They're trash. They're trash.
They're terrible. No, I don't know. I don't like the smell, and the smell lingers. I can't do it. I'll have one every once in a while, but it's got to be something. The last one I had was at my buddy's wedding. The last one before that, I think, was on like a bachelor trip. Honestly,
you may be a DGen, but I think you like the finer things in life. So I'd
like
probably rather
things.
have a glass of wine than I would like a cigar. But
I can tell you, if there's a cigar in my hand, there's a glass of scotch in the other hand. I can tell you that. That is for certain.
What kind of scotch?
Depends what the bar has. Be honest with you.
Does the bar ever have Belvini? Ever?
A handful of bars do. Usually depends what kind of bar, right? But more often than not, they have some sort of Dalmore that I do like. So I'll go with that. I'll take a look at their scotch list and see what they have. And go for that. But usually, if you're, at a place that will let you smoke cigars, usually they have some good selection of liquor.
Yeah. I'm not a purveyor of the smoke.
There you go. Well, since you are a purveyor of alcohol on this show, what are you drinking tonight?
Sports betting. All right. Right here we got the we are soon going to have to do a little bit of shopping for the liquor cabinet, because we are down. This is not the end of it. I probably have 2 more podcasts worth of Bullet bourbon with Diet Coke.
There you go. Bullet and Diet. Classic.
A little bit of Diet
Coke.
Little bit.
Just a little bit of Diet Coke. That's I'm on the same train, just not on the Bullet train. I have Makers tonight. Makers and Diet, but it's like Makers, Diet.
I'm not a professional like Clay, who talks about just putting a couple of 4 or 5 drops of water makes a world difference. I wouldn't know that, because there's a lot more than a 4 or 5 drops of Diet Coke in here, but
Need something in there. But no, yeah, you were mentioning that the AC crew was killing it last week.
Yeah,
I was a little jealous, not gonna lie. I kept seeing the text, and I'm like, damn day job keep me away.
It's gotta hurt sometimes with you because you're only an hour in some way.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Like, I mean, I'm happy that they were killing it. What do I wish I was there? Sure. Do I have severe FOMO? No, but I guess I wish I was retired. I guess that's where I wish I'm at. Because if I was retired, I'd be there, but I'm not.
But
So
you go to your local a lot, right?
yeah, I used to. I haven't been there in a little bit. I don't know, just haven't had really time to go. I've been busy doing stuff, and when I have gone to the casino, I've been just driving down to Atlantic City, see people and whatnot. I've been to my local. It's just the other thing too is when I go to my local, right? Like I could just pop into my local in a little bit and dip, right? So like I forget, I guess, almost going there because like I have my tracker, right? So I could look and see exactly how many times I've been there. But like sometimes I'm there for 5 minutes, sometimes I'm there for 30 minutes, but it doesn't last in your head as long, I guess, as when you like take a day trip somewhere, you know?
Well, but you've worked that discipline into you to where you know, no, I have a place that's local here. I'm not visiting it for 5, 6 hours every time I go. I want to
Nope.
get in, go out, go back home, make dinner, have an evening, watch a game. I don't know. But
Exactly. Like and like when I do go on weekends, right? Like the King of Prussia Mall is right around the corner from the casino. So like I mean, wife wants to go shopping, like on the way there, stop in, try to win some money, get the hell
there you
out,
go.
and then go to the
There you
mall,
go.
spend said money. But it is what it is. But yeah, no, like it's usually like a quick hit. If you see me at that casino for a long time, I'm either there with people or I'm really looking to kill time. But you know, for the most part, I try to get in, get out, be quick. Like I know it's
Yeah.
different for a lot of people, right? Because like not everyone's got a local that's close enough that they can do that. But like if you
Yeah,
do,
you're right.
it's nice, right? Like I know a lot of people have to travel to go to the casino. Um, and you know you can't go for 5 minutes, win 10-20%, whatever it may be, and then
Right.
leave because it doesn't justify going. But if your local's close by, it does justify it, so it's not bad. Plus I'll stop there on the way somewhere, right? Like going somewhere, pop in real quick, hit the tables, leave.
That's different. And yeah, there are some people who have to drive 4 or 5 hours, and it's like, no, they're not going for just a few hours. They're going for overnight, and they know they're
Yep.
going to be playing multiple sessions. But yeah, do I have the luxury of a local casino? Yes, I got one north, 25 minutes, south, about an hour. And I like to go to the south one when I can because I have to go to the airport about 6 times a year to pick up relatives. So the fact it's only 10 minutes from the airport makes it easy because I'm already down there. So go down there a little bit earlier, a couple hours earlier. Like I've told you before, where I had to look down at my watch and I had to jet. And you're like, should have stayed. Just stay.
Should have
He's
stayed.
fine. He's picking up his luggage. He'll be fine.
Yeah, they can wait. And to say you got stuck in traffic or something.
Right.
Right. But no, I mean, it's different, I guess, when you're traveling or when you have something close by. It's definitely different. And like I can sympathize because like I know, I'll put out things and people will be like, well, how could you only go to win, 10%? And I'm like, I'm driving 20 minutes away. Like for me to get there and back is like maybe a gallon of gas max. So it's like, yeah, it justifies it. But if I'm driving to Atlantic City, no, you will not see me go to Atlantic City for 5 minutes and leave.
See, I wouldn't go to the local. Like, if I'm going to the local, I wouldn't want to go for just $100 looking to win, 20%, because I got to pay the toll to go to and from. So I got to at
Mm,
least win 20% of 100 just to make it even worthwhile.
yeah.
So I'd rather go there with 300,
Hmm.
try to play for a couple of hours, get in, get out, like you said. And that's what I did the
Yeah.
last time I went. Played a little blackjack, played some craps. I knew I was going to be playing two in one night. So you allocated, we're going to talk about that. But what happens a lot of times, Chris? Bad beats and near misses.
Yes. Bad beats and near misses.
I found a quote. Let me know what you think. I thought it was very interesting. Every gambler wants a comeback story. The disciplined gambler actually gets one.
It's a very valid quote. Very valid quote. I think unfortunately, right, we find ourselves in a comeback situation a lot of the time. Unfortunately. Now sometimes you get out there early, you get there, you get up, and you're good to go. Same thing with going to your local, right? Like that's why I say I can go for 5 minutes. I'm playing blackjack most of the time when I go there, right? I'm not playing craps, so I'm playing blackjack. So for anyone at home who doesn't know, when I'm playing by myself at a table, it's like a hand every 15 seconds. So going for 5 minutes, I can get dealt 20 hands. But sometimes you do fall behind, and got to come back, or you get a bad run, right? Get a bad run at the craps table, couple PSOs, couple one hit, 7 out, whatever it may be. Find yourself behind the 8 ball, and you have to come back. But it is true. That quote that you have is very true, where a lot of people are looking for that comeback story, but the main reason that you will come back is because of discipline. Yes, you may catch, a hero roll every once in a while, or catch some hero story that, somebody did something ridiculous like parlaying a 12 and it hits, and then boom,
Right.
they're back. But the discipline gambler is what's going to be what gets you back more so than, catching that, once in a lifetime moment, lightning in a bottle type thing.
But you said it once before. If a person is really trying to make a comeback and they do some ridiculous bet that happens to win, they don't have the discipline. They're going to continue playing of what they just won instead of walking and be like, oh my God, I can't believe what happened right before I left. Well, they didn't
Yeah.
leave. They just stayed at the table longer, and then they lost it all, and then they couldn't recover. That's one of the
Mm-hmm.
greatest things about a good comeback is I think you have to have it built in, right? You have to
Yep.
have recovery built into your plan. Like, what am I going to do? Because I have a set thing I want to do when I go there to the casino. Whether you want to play across 160 across, 96 across, or you want to play some prop bets, and then all hell breaks loose, and now you're finding yourself in a hole. And so, what's your recovery? To me, your recovery is you go back to something simple, a 6 and 8, or
Mm-hmm.
if you were going all wild all across, you go to the inside, 66 inside. You start simple, and then you just do some collecting and some collecting until the table turns back in your favor.
Yep.
But we've each probably had some really good comebacks, but I tell you, most of my comebacks are the ones that bring me back to even.
Yeah, they definitely are, and it's actually, I want to say it's funny, but it's not really funny. But it's true, right? I've had so many times where I am in the midst of a comeback, right? Down, trying to come back, and I'm not as aggressive as I would be normally because I do exactly what you said, right? Where if I'm going across, I'm going to go maybe inside, or I'll pick two or three numbers, right? Because my mindset there, and the mindset for a lot of people when you're trying to come back, is your emotions need to be checked out and you need to adjust your bankroll, right? So you're adjusting your bankroll to come back, not your emotions to come back, right? But you've probably heard me say this, and I know there's numerous people who've heard me say this, where like I say, I wish I had this role when I started and not as a comeback. Why?
Right.
Well, when I am ahead or close to even, or even if I'm down a little bit, but it's early in a session, I'm way more aggressive with pressing, with, whatever it may be. When I'm in that comeback mode, I'm looking to collect. Now, do I still get semi-aggressive? Sure. But you will see me press and collect and then regress or things along those lines a lot more because I'm trying to bring money back to the rack, as opposed to if it's early in a session, right? Let's say I'm at that 160 across level, right? First hit on the 6, going straight to 60. Okay, it's gonna pay me 35, $5 back to the rack, going straight to 60. That next hit pays me 70, right? When I'm coming from behind, that 70, you best believe is going right in the rack, right? Whereas if I'm ahead, you may see me bump it up to 90 and take 40 back to the rack. Why am I taking 40? Well, it pays for the $30 I was on that 6 from the start, and now I'm at $90 already, right? So like I may do moves like that, and then once that 120 hits, I'm taking a collect there. Everything I have out there is paid for. To the moon we go, right? Obviously, I'm still pressing, collecting. But when I'm behind and I get that hit at 90 and I collect a black chip, that bet's likely coming back down to, it might be 60, might be 30, who knows what it is. And I'm notorious for saying it. I've said it many times to many people where, like, I wish I had this role at a different time, because the mindset for aggressiveness isn't there when I'm down. It's there when I'm either freshly at the table or I might be up a little bit because I know that I can get those bets up a lot quicker and I'm not as hesitant to get those bets up because I am not pulling as much money back to the rack. Is that a good mindset to have? It might not be, but I feel like you play freer and looser when you're not trying to come back.
Well, we've talked about it before. Like if you happen to actually be up, that when you have that extra, or some people call it a short stack, why is it almost every single time that short stack just gets burned? Because you play shit you normally don't play. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like you're taking that short stack and you're going back out on the 6 and 8 and that's it. No, you're taking that short stack and you're looking to hit something to hop. You're looking to hit some kind of prop bet. You're looking to parlay a field. And it's like you burn it every time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, for me, the best comeback that I've had was the one at the Mirage, where I started with $800, got myself down to 226, and then had to switch gears. And that's the thing, you have to switch gears. Like you said, you can't play what you were playing the whole time that got you to the point that it got you. You have to switch gears, do something different. If you're not going to walk away, if you're not going to take a break, go get a drink, have a cigarette, uh, just walk around the casino. If you're not going to do that and you're going to stay at the table, what's your recovery? Because you just had a bad beat. And the way I
Mm-hmm.
recovered, and it took a little bit of longevity because I had to do it over like another hour, was I started out going across and I had pass line odds and all that stuff. When I got knocked down, I had to reconfigure and say, all right, what can I do that's going to make me money, but it's not going to have too much exposure?
Yep.
I started going 66 inside. Got everything up to 110, regressed it back to 66 inside. Got everything up to 110, rinse and repeat. I rinsed and repeat, and that got me back up to 806, $6 profit. But I came
Yep.
back from 226. So that was a $600 swing by changing my mindset to recover. And that's what a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people don't do. They take the bad beat and either they have the bankroll to keep on going and keep burning money, or they switch gears if they're not going to walk away. And I think just from watching, your videos on your channel, Chris, because you're famous for playing the 6-8, it's the simplest thing to play. It's one of the first things that a dealer taught me when I first ever walked up to a casino table. They said,
Mm-hmm.
follow me, I'll take you here, just bet a 6 and 8. And that's all I did. Now, I didn't win much that night. In fact, I lost 180, but I would have lost a lot more had I not been following a simple plan. Now, the
Yeah.
next night is the night that was the comeback. The comeback was I bought in for 500, made 500, so I doubled my bankroll, and the next day doubled it again to 600. So it's like you have to know how to switch gears when you have a bad beat, because otherwise there is no comeback. The only comeback is you coming back to the casino another day with a different buy-in.
Yep, that's so true. And I think you made a good point with the switching gears, right? But I think a lot of people have a misconception when they hear the words switch gears, they instantly think of light side, dark side, right?
Right.
And that's the farthest thing from the truth. Could you go dark? Sure. That's not what we're saying though, right? Well, it's rare, very rare that you will see me playing light side and then full abort light going dark. If the table's doing it, then yes, I may go dark or I may go hybrid or something like that. But it's not that I'm going light side to dark side. The whole concept of reevaluating, changing up is exactly what you said with if you're going across and it's not working, all right, fine, grab a 6 and 8, right? Spread out from there. It's not like you're going across and then now we're going to play don't with max odds, right? And I think a lot of people hear that and they're like, well, I don't play dark, so I would never do that. And I'm like, who said anything about playing dark? Never said you had to play dark, right? You're going across, it's not working. All right. The main thing is, right, you have three real options, okay? When you're getting beat and you're in that mode of what's next. You have three options. You correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, there's three options. Your first option, walk away, right? That's option number one. Option
Yeah.
number two is reevaluate what you're doing, switch from what you were doing, do something different, right? Option number three, be an idiot, keep doing what you're doing, torch the rest of your bankroll, torch whatever you have left, and not learn from it because you're probably not going to learn until you have no chips in the rack or chips in front of you. But those are the three options to me, right?
Yep.
Options 1 and 2 sound a hell of a lot better than option 3. You'd think of any other
No,
options?
no. I mean, you said it, and you said it before. You have to reconnect with your original plan, and your original plan, if you're disciplined, has units, a limit, and a goal. And those are like the three minimum things you need to reevaluate and go back to if you're having a bad beat. But you're absolutely right. If, like we just said, if you're not walking away or taking a break or going to get something to eat, you're at the table still, then you have two options. And Chris just named them. You can either change how you're doing things, read the table, or you can just keep what you're doing, burn the rest of it, go home with empty pockets. Because guess
Yep.
what? The person that chooses that one is the person that comes back with another buy in another day and does the exact same thing again.
A lot of people aren't going to want to hear this, but it's the truth, right? When you're trying to get even, right? There's a saying, you get even or you get even worse, right? When you're trying to recover those losses, the casinos love it. Why? Because they know more often than not that recovery that you're trying to do by not switching is money that you're just going to keep dumping on the table. And you're going to keep dumping on the table. And what's that money going to do? End up in the casino's rack, not in your rack. Why? Because you're not protecting your bankroll. You don't have your mindset intact, right? Craig talked about it, switching up your mindset. It's even as simple as if you're going 160 across, go 96 across, right? 64 across. I mean, there's options if you're on a $10 table. If you're on a $15 table, 96 across, you don't have to go 160 across, right? Yes, it makes things easy, and it's there. 96 across is just as easy. Okay.
Here's the other thing: bet the one number, just one, bet the number that just rolled, because
Yeah.
the likelihood of a repeater, it's happened. It's happened often enough that it's a good, like, see, you bet what's rolling. If a five just rolled, there's a likelihood that another five will roll. Um, Obviously, does it not happen? Of course. If it's a really cold table, PSOs happen. But on the flip side of that, go back to basics. And the thing is, if when we've been talking about craps, even if you're playing blackjack and you're the dumbass who every single time there's an opportunity you split, every time there's an opportunity you double down. Okay, but if you need to recover because of a bad beat, walk away from the blackjack table, go to a different blackjack table. I've told Chris before, I don't like consecutive losing hands. I won't sit at a table where there's been 5 to 6 losing hands in a row. To me, I see it as I wasn't meant to play at that moment. I should pick another table. Now, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, sometimes the only table available is the only table available. Well, then you have to decide whether you're going to play or not. But if
Yep.
you do, stop chasing doubles, stop chasing splits, go back to unit betting and play simple. If there's an opportunity to split, don't. Just you're going to keep trying to win even money to get past the poor streak or the bad streak or the bad beat. Because if you keep going the way you're going, you're then going to go into the near miss. And the near miss is you've burned your bankroll and now you are about to get up from the table and you notice that the rest of the table has now won 4 straight hands. And you could have been
Yep.
part of that. But you
Yeah.
decided to just not change gears and you decided to just burn what you have.
Yep, 100%. And see, this is where like martingale systems and the Fibonacci stuff, right? That's where it gets people into trouble. Where if you're just using units, right, flat betting, whatever it may be, you can sit there and weather those bad streaks, provided your bankroll's large enough, which it should be large enough to weather, 6, 7 losing hands in a row. Okay. Now, do we want that? Absolutely not. If you don't want to sit at the table for that, that's fine. Get up and leave, right? Like Craig said, he's not going to sit there and, take 7 losing hands in a row. That's totally fine. But he's also not going to sit there and start at $25 on a losing hand and go up to 50 and then go up to 100 and then, maybe go to 50 arbitrarily and then go back up to 100 trying to chase it. He's not going to do that, right? If you sit there and you flat bet, you have your unit betting that you like to do, it's easy to weather storms, to be there when the table is going to turn. It happened to me when I was in Atlantic City 2 weeks ago, right? I sat down and played blackjack, bought in for 600 at the table. Okay. I was down to 300 quickly. Why? I was losing hands. I was betting a quarter. It was a quarter table. I literally did not deviate off a quarter. I think I doubled maybe once in that whole thing. Had no splits, didn't have to worry about it. I've talked about it on here. I don't double certain hands, right?
Right.
I know the book every 11 you double. No, you don't. Okay. In DGen's world, you don't. And it actually saved me 3 hands in that losing streak. I still lost, but I didn't lose double. Again, lost that money in like 30 minutes, right? I had plenty of money to sit there. 30 minutes later, I colored up $400 on the table. That 600 that I bought in for ended up being 1,000 only because I was flat betting, unit betting, and I could sit there, take advantage of the good streak when it came, right? And limit my losses when I was losing. I watched multiple people come into that table, leave that table while I was sitting at it. What were they doing? Betting like idiots, right? Or buying in on a $25 table with $100. Good way to lose quickly, right? You can lose 4 hands in a row. And God forbid you have a double in there or a split. Or God forbid you have a double or you have a split and then you got to double off the split. That did happen, by the way, to a guy when I was 2 weeks ago. He bought in for $120 or something. It was a weird number.
Yeah.
120, something like that. First hand he was dealt. He got 2 sevens against the dealer 6. What did he do? Split them, right? Again, not going to fault him. I'd be splitting that too, right? 3 doubles off that one. I don't know what he got on the second hand. Doesn't matter. Dealer pulled 25 cards. He lost both hands, but he lost
The
3
5-card.
hands instead of the 2 that he should have lost.
The 5-card death hand from the dealer.
Yep.
But and that's the thing.
It
like,
happens though.
The comeback, when you have to do the comeback doesn't have to mean getting back to even. Like it did in my story, but that was my story. Other stories are different. It can mean stopping the bleeding, right?
Yep.
It can mean recover a portion. It can mean end the session with dignity and walk away at least with something in your pocket, or it means preserving that ammo for tomorrow if you're on a trip and you're going to be playing multiple sessions, multiple days. The thing you want to avoid is that damn temptation of, well, it took me an hour to lose it, but I got to win it back fast. No, you don't. Don't just start jetting off into the prop section in craps and start betting the yo and start betting midnight trying to win. Like if it took you like a half hour to lose it, why are you trying to win it back in 10 minutes?
Yep.
Like if you lost it in a half hour, obviously something was wrong and you were probably playing too fast and too dumb. So slow it down. Know that your recovery is going to take a little bit of effort, especially switching gears, and it's going to take time.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that you'll just break even. It might just mean if you had a $500 bankroll or $1,000 bankroll and you're down to 300. It could mean, what if you just doubled the 300 and you walked away with 600? But at least you'd have dignity and you didn't know. Did you win that night? Did you have profit? No. Did you lose 400? Yeah, but you walked away with the majority of what you brought. You can't hang your head low on that.
No, you can't. And like you said, right, people run to the prop section in craps. People do it on Blackjack too, right? They run to the side bets instantly, trying to hit a home run there. Here's the main thing, right? Especially with the comeback stories. You don't need to do it in that session. Okay? You don't need to do it in that day, right? You're going to have losing days. You're going to have losing sessions, especially if you're gambling for a long period of time, right? If you're on a trip, well, today was not your day, but you have the rest of the trip to make that comeback, right? And it's a lot easier to win pieces of that comeback and keep piling those on top of each other than trying to sit there and win it all back in one session, right? Volatility is going to get you if you try to win it back in one session. Can it be done? Absolutely. Is it the smart way to do it? No, right? You're down $1,000 day one. Okay. Let's say you buy in for $1,000 every time you're playing. If you think about it, you're trying to win 20%, that's $200. That's 5 winning sessions, right? It's a lot easier to win $200 off 1,000 than it is to win 1,000 off 1,000. A lot easier. Now, is it going to take longer? Yes, but that's where the discipline comes in. It's where the patience comes in, right? Again, if you lose $1,000 and the casino knows that, and they see you trying to win that 1,000 back by doing stupid shit, they're going to be salivating over it. Why? Because they know you're likely to dump that next 1,000. Now you find yourself in a $2,000 hole, and now you're trying to win that back. And you go down a slippery slope. Yes, again, like we said, you can have those comeback sessions, right? But you got to look at it from a long-term perspective as opposed to the short-term perspective, right? That's one of the mindset things you have to have. And I'm not even talking long-term as in like a year, not even a month, right? If you're on a trip for a week, day one goes poorly, chalk it, you got 6 days left. Your goal over those next 6 days should be to win back what you lost on day one and maybe profit a little bit. If you win it back on day 2 or 3, good for you. Now build up the profit. Don't give it back, right? If you play at a local and you lose one day and you go once a week, well, now you have the rest of that month to try to win it back, whatever it may be. But it's a lot easier to have small incremental wins than it is to have massive comeback stories. Because if you're hunting for the comeback, you're probably going to be in a comeback situation a lot of the time that you need to hunt for said comeback.
I was just going to say, not enough people celebrate the small wins.
Mm.
They stack up over time.
Yep.
Something that I've been learning in sports betting is that if I, buy in for $20 or $50, why am I betting it all in one night? Like basketball season is 6 months.
Yeah.
Football, 5 to 6 months. Like, why aren't I betting a little bit at the time and then just enjoying the small win if it happens? Because then it stacks me over time. I would love to start with a, low 20 to $50 on a Monday, bet throughout the week, and maybe by Thursday I've got $100
Yeah.
versus I buy in for 20 and I've made, let's say, 5 bets that night and I lost the 20 that night. And now there's nothing the rest of the week. Same thing if you're on a trip, and Chris just said it. If you lose on day one, your job should be to reconfigure your mindset and go for winning back during the week what you lost on day one. Again, you get those people, and we just talked about them, the ones that do win it back on day two and maybe a little bit of profit. Then they go back into their old ways and they burn it again, and they're having to do the same thing. They lost it on Thursday, they have to win it back on Friday. And now they're running out of time, so they're betting faster.
You know what betting faster leads to? Digging faster holes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
And, we've talked about all these things with, if you're on a trip or if you're, there for even a day or whatever, right? But stacking up the small wins is going to be more beneficial. And the other thing to think about too is some people like to switch games, right? Craig and I both like to switch games. We might play craps, we might play blackjack. We're going to switch between the two. Okay. You may go see me play some baccarat. You may see me play some roulette. Very rarely on the roulette front, sometimes on the bac front, right? Here's the thing, though. You got to know that if you're going to be playing different games, right, you have to have the bankroll to play those different games. And if you plan on playing one game and you're going to torch it because you're going to, play stupid and you're going to want to come back, you can't torch the other game's bankroll if you have that allocated, which you should, right? Or sometimes, in my case, I've said it, I've done it many times where I've lost on the craps table, I go win it back on the blackjack table, right? That exact example, and we're going to get into talking about allocating money for different games, but that example is a mindset switch for me. Is I'm going to go play a different game, right? Now we call it the get right game, right? And I was thinking about it when we were talking about it that night when we were talking about get right games. And when I ever talk about it, people are like, well, you say don't chase your losses, but then you go chase your losses on a different game. And I'm like, different. I'm going to play a different game, different mindset, different game. But when I'm playing that game, I can win some of that money back, right? And my goal there is to get back to even or win a little bit so I start chipping away at that number that I need to make to get back to even. I'm not sitting there trying to win back what I lost plus some. If it happens, great. But if I'm down $1,000, you're not going to see me buy in for another 1,000 at a blackjack table and try to turn 1,000 into 2,000. You're not going to see that. You're going to see me try to turn it into 20, 30% usually, unless the table's going really well, then you'll see me try to do it. But I will lock up at least a certain percentage, play with a little bit left. And if I could turn that into more, great. If not, I know that I made a slight dent in what I've already lost. And we'll either play blackjack again later, we'll go back to the craps table, we'll do something, but I've put a dent in that number that I need to come back.
Here's the thing, and I feel I have two thoughts on this. One is when we say get right game, the way I think about it is I'm going to a game that plays slower than the game I was just playing. So a get right game is getting right on the right track, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're playing craps and you had a bad beat, you're losing like 160 across pass line with odds, or you're playing an iron cross, or you're playing some prop bets before the come out roll, and now you're going 66 inside and you had it pressed up to 110 inside and then the 7 hit. Like, you're losing a lot of money at one time. Versus when we say get right game, we're going right back into a game, blackjack, that forces us to bet small, and we can only lose that $15 or $25 at one at a time. If 3 hands happens and you lose $75 because it's a quarter a hand, reevaluate. Say, you know what, it's just not my night, and walk away. But like Chris said, if you go there and it's our get right game because it's slowing the game down so that we can think a little bit easier than all the atmosphere happening at the craps table. Okay, now we win a few hands, lost a hand, win 2 hands, lost 2 hands, win 3 hands. Like, okay, we're getting some momentum back and we're getting into our get right game, because our get right game does more than just win back what we lost. It calms us, it slows us down, and it gets us to a point where we start enjoying it again. It lets the emotions dissipate. That's what I think of when I think of the get right game.
No, you're spot on. Spot on. I mean, that's exactly that, right? Like, and I know some people are going to be, well, blackjack's faster than craps. In theory, sure, but not really. If you sit and play blackjack, it's actually slower, technically, than a PSO at the craps table, okay, with less money out there, usually, right? But the resolutions are quicker, and the wins are quicker, and the wins and the losses are a little bit slower, let's say, right? Because if you're playing lights out on a craps table, right, 7 wipes you out, whatever bets you have out there. Okay, unless you're playing dark. But let's pretend we're playing lights out. 7 wipes you out immediately. If you have that 160 across, you lost every bet you have out there. Blackjack, you're only going to lose what's in front of you, right? What you have bet out there. So that's why we say that it's slower than craps, even though, you know, by the time it takes somebody on a full table to roll the dice, I may have played 6 or 7 hands of blackjack if I'm playing by myself. The resolutions happen one by one, right? It's not like I'm going out there with $160 on one hand. So it's different. But it gets me into a better mindset. I don't know. Craig said it gets him into a better mindset. I know a few other people, it gets them into a better mindset. So basically, you're stopping the bleeding that was happening on the craps table or whatever other game you were playing. Or you could reverse it. You could have blackjack as your, screwing you, and you go to craps for your get right game. Whatever it may be. You're looking for that change of pace, change of mindset, and you're stepping away, reevaluating what's going on. You're going to protect the bankroll, get yourself in a better frame of mind, and hopefully turn a little bit of profit or chip away at that lost number that you had.
Well, think about it. Because we've all been at a table, if I went to a craps table and I had 5 PSOs in a row, that could be 5 66 insides with a pass line and maybe odds in a row.
Mm-hmm.
But think about 4 hands at blackjack. In the amount of time it took me to go through 4 shooters of 4 PSOs, which again, if they're not really doing like a lot of the stick prop crap, which they always are, but if they weren't, if you timed it, you could probably get through 4 PSOs in 12 minutes, right? If I go to the blackjack table and I play 4 hands, granted, it might take 4 minutes, 3 minutes to go through 4 hands if you have a full table, right? But in that amount of time, let's say that we're all losing hands. That's only $60 at a $15 blackjack table. $60. I was losing 66 inside plus pass line with odds on every PSO, and I did it 4 times.
Yep.
You do the math.
I'm sure someone's going to do the math and be like, you're saying the same thing. I'm going to sit there and be like, no. Let me crunch these numbers real quick. But on the topic, right, of playing different games, right, it's important to have bankrolls for all the games, right? Or have set aside a certain amount of money for each game. Now, I know some people only play one game, so their bankroll is only for that game, right? But if you're going to be playing blackjack and you're going to be playing craps and you're going to be playing baccarat or roulette, right? You have to have money set aside for each of those games. We've done episodes on, planning for trips and envelopes and all that kind of stuff, right? And when we talk about our sessions, session envelopes, and all that kind of stuff, for me, and I'm assuming for Craig, I'm not going to speak for him, but every time I sit down at a table is another session, right? If I go to the craps table and I have a bad session, when I go to the blackjack table, that's another session. It's not the same session carried over. Even even if I bought in for exactly what I lost at the craps table, right? Say I buy in the craps table $1,000, I lose 500, I buy in on blackjack for 500. Okay, two separate sessions. They're not one lumped together session, playing two different games. So you have to have proper allocation of money to play multiple games if you're going to be playing multiple games. Wouldn't you agree, Craig?
Well, most players treat blackjack money and craps money like it's two separate universes. But you just said it may be two sessions, but you're not playing the same thing. It's two drains feeding into the same pipe.
Mm-hmm.
It's not you can't you can think about that you're playing separate games and maybe you should allocate separate buy-ins for each. But I can tell you for me, because of the way the games play, because they both play differently, that I would probably allocate if I had a $900 bankroll, 2/3 would be craps, 1/3 would be blackjack. Why?
Yep.
Because I'm expecting to win more at craps than I am at blackjack, and it takes more to win at craps than it does at blackjack. I don't know if you think of that the same thing. I know that you can take $100 to blackjack and have a great session and turn that $100 into 300. I've done it
Yep.
at blackjack. Craps, it's a hell of a lot harder to turn $100 into 300 unless you're being super aggressive. But I don't go to
Indeed.
my get right game to be super aggressive.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like I allocate them pretty evenly, honestly. My mentality on it though is like for games like craps and blackjack, right? Relatively low house edge games, right?
Right.
Blackjack's one of the lowest. Craps pass on with odds, even though I'm probably not playing that, is pretty low house edge. Most of the bets you're going to see me play on a craps table are pretty low house edge, right? Box numbers, pass line, whatever it is. Forget the ATS or like fire bet because those are going to be house edge, but that's a one-off type thing, right? So I would allocate something similar to that. You won't see me play slots, but if I was playing slots, I would have a very small percentage of that allocated to slots, right? So like, let's say, for a day, right? Let's say I got $1,000 for the day. Okay. So I want to allocate 500 to craps, 500 to blackjack. Okay, cool. No problem with that. Say you're a slots player, right? You might allocate $100 to slots and your other 900 is for craps and blackjack, where you may split it the way Craig said, 600 for craps, 300 for blackjack, 100 for slots, right? You have to know how you would segment it in your own head. That's up to you, right? For me, it's craps and blackjack are pretty similar buy-ins for me, just because when I play blackjack, I know the hammer that I'm playing with is the bankroll, right? Because I have to be able to weather some bad hands, some bad runs, like we already talked about, right? Got to come back a little bit. But I know that if I play and I play the way that I typically play, I can weather those storms. Craps table, if it's not going well, I'm going to get up and leave. Blackjack table, not going well, I'm going to get up and leave. But you have to be able to allocate the money. You can't go and say, okay, I'm going to buy in with $1,000 at a craps table, and then whatever I have left, I'll play blackjack later, right? That's not the mindset you can have. If you want to go in, this goes into the same thing where I hate people telling me they have a stop loss and they buy in for X amount of dollars. Just don't buy in for that much. If your stop loss is 50%, you buy in for $1,000. Why do you only buy in? Why do you buy in for 1,000? Why don't you buy in for 500? It's a false sense of confidence. I tell people this all the time, and they want to argue with me. If you want to argue, down in the comments, please. I will argue all day long. But you can't say I'm going to buy in for $1,000 at a craps table when I only have, let's say, 300 or 400 left. I'm going to go over to blackjack. Just buy into craps table for 600 or 700. Then leave the rest in your pocket. Why? Because when you put it out there, you're more than likely to play with it. Hopefully you don't have to, right? But when the money's in front of you, it's way easier to play it than you having to think, okay, I have to take money out of my wallet now and put it on the table.
When you think about the money, though, and you think about what am I buying in for, for us, it's going to be craps and blackjack. So you have to have a plan to go with the money that you're bringing. So you know that blackjack, you need a consistent unit size, whether it's 15, 25. You know you need enough to survive variance, just like in craps. You know you need the ability to ride a good shoe, right? And a good rule of thumb is you want at least 40 to 60 units because you're, well, not maybe 40 to 48 units because you're going to be playing 40 to 48 hands in a shoe. You have to have enough units for that shoe. Now, when I play blackjack, and I'm not as experienced as you, Chris, I've only been playing it not even a year, but typically I only play one shoe. As soon as I play the shoe, I get up and go. I haven't been playing this game long enough and learned enough with enough experience to sit and do more. Even if it was a winning shoe, I wouldn't then go to the next shoe. Um, I like short timed wins. That's why I like blackjack because if I win, sometimes it's with one shoe and I'm fine with what I've won. It could be 75 bucks, it could be 350, but I'm going in with a certain amount, probably 300, and I'm playing one shoe. But I have to have that plan of the money that I'm bringing and allocating towards craps for that night or blackjack. This is the way I'm playing it. Same thing with craps. You know there's going to be volatility. You know you have to withstand cold tables, especially cold shooters. Where in the law of craps or the casino does it say that you have to play every shooter? If you're allocating money for both games and you have a bad beat in one of them and it's craps, don't play the next shooter. Skip a shooter. Watch the table. See what the table's doing. Read what's happening. If you decide to jump in, fine, but remember you're in recovery and you just had a bad beat. But you have to allocate that money when you walk into the casino. You cannot walk into the casino A without a plan, B without discipline, and because if you don't have discipline, you'll never walk out of the casino profitable. Facts. But you have to know each game and what you want to allocate towards each. And like Chris said, for him, it's even. 500 for craps, 500 for blackjack. For OBC, it's a 2/3 split. 2/3 goes to craps, a third goes to blackjack. Now Chris has played blackjack longer, so when he plays with 500, he does a lot more than I do. We've sat at the blackjack table together, and he knows that I'm just a flat better. Because I'm still
I
learning the
mean,
game.
I'm a pretty flat better when I play blackjack. Um,
You'll play those lucky ladies.
I'm,
Don't lie.
I've played them, yeah. It depends. Again, it depends what I'm doing. If I'm there to win or have some fun, because I mean, there's nothing. I mean, we're always there to win, right? But there's nothing more fun than when you're playing with your buddies and you hit one of those side bets, right? Of course, but especially if you're talking to Bruce, it's like straight flat betting at this point, right? Um, I'm not even kidding. Like it's just what it is. But yeah, you have to allocate for whatever you want. You are the only one who can set those limits, right? You know what you're bringing to the casino. We're using $1,000 because it's a flat number. It's easy to break it down into sections, right? If you're walking into the casino with $466, you got to figure out your math on yourself, right? But make sure when you are allocating, you're allocating properly. And what I mean by that is like, don't walk into a casino thinking, okay, I have $1,000. I'm going to use 100 for craps, 900 for blackjack. If you're going to do that, don't even bother to go play craps, right? Don't
You
even
might as well
bother.
take that $100 and use it in the prop section.
Yes, literally. Like you have to be realistic, right? Craig said when you're playing blackjack, you got to have, approximately enough to play 40 hands or so a shoe, right? Now, if you're playing with multiple people, also depends on how many decks are in the shoe, but let's say, you're playing at a table by yourself. Yes, you got to have enough for about 40 to 48 hands, right? Does that mean you need to have 40 times whatever your flat bet is? No. You're not going to lose all 40 hands. And if you do, run the hell away from that casino. Run and don't ever look
Stop
back.
playing
All
casino
right?
gaming at all.
Just run. If you lose 40 straight hands, run as fast as you can. Okay? Um, but you do have to have enough money, right? We always say you have to be properly bankrolled. In craps, right? 10 shooter rule. I hate that, but whatever, right? Blackjack, enough for 40 hands. Basically, what I say is you need to be able to cut that in half if you want to be a little bit on the underfunded side in a quarter, maybe, right? You have to have enough to at least play, let's say 12 to 20 hands. But we've seen runs of, I mean, I've had runs of 10 losing hands in a row, right? It's happened to me. But I've also had runs of winning 10 hands in a row. So blackjack is not a hard and fast bankroll you would need, but you need to have enough, right? You can't buy in at a quarter table for $100. It's not going to work. I can guarantee you of that, unless you have the discipline to get the hell up when you're up $50.
Well, one other thing I wanted to add to it, because I meant to say it earlier, and to clarify for some of the viewers, is the reason I have a 2/3 split when allocating to both games is because blackjack drains you slowly and craps drains you suddenly. So
Mm-hmm.
your split needs to respect both personalities. Um, that's why I have two-thirds of the bankroll here and 1/3 of the bankroll over here. Um, but then you have to think about the mid session. You've been there an hour. Maybe you've played both games. Maybe you haven't yet. But if you have, you got to decide. All right, I've been here a while. I've been here a couple hours. I've played both games. Maybe I'm down on one. Maybe I'm up on. Start asking yourself questions. Which game is treating you better? Which game is draining you more? Which game is giving you the most fun? And then you have to rebalance maybe your original uh, buy-in choice for each game or your different allocation for each game. You have to decide, okay, I'm not doing very well in craps. Stick it in your pocket. Do not take that money and then think that you can just bump up your buy-in for blackjack. That's not how this works. You're allocating for a reason. You're allocating based on the game that you're playing and the parameters that you have to play at. And if that's the case, and you're having a down session in craps, stop the game of craps, go back to blackjack, but go back with your buy-in from blackjack. Take the money you lost, whatever. Let's say you had $600 and you lost 400 at craps. Take that 200 and build your next buy-in the next time you come to the casino to play craps. Don't add that 200 to your blackjack and start playing at a different level.
Yep. Yeah, we allocate for a reason, right? We said it in the planning episode when we were going for a trip and stuff. You allocate for a reason. We don't touch Monday's money on Sunday, right? Same thing. You don't touch your craps money for blackjack. Just keep them separate, and it'll be better off for you.
No, I think one last thing I'd like to say about that is if both are cold, and we've been to the casino when both games are cold, protect your fund, shrink your units,
Yeah.
play slower, take a break.
Yep. 100%. I mean, that's what you have to do.
I mean, you already said it. Don't borrow from tomorrow. I mean,
Nope.
that's why it rhymes. Don't borrow from tomorrow. Don't go
That's a
into that
t-shirt.
next envelope for that other session. That's not why it's there. It's not why you allocated that money in the envelope. You did it for a reason because you're playing 3 sessions a day. If you lost that one envelope, guess what? You lost it. Sorry, but
Now I
that's
got
the
to
way
come
you
back.
planned the trip, and you're going to be better off by not touching the other envelopes. Trust us.
Is it time for what the fuck segment, Craig?
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Warning.
The thoughts and comments in the next segment may trigger you. If you are triggered, seek help from someone who cares.
All right, this one grinds my gears so often. Happened the other time I was at the casino, last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. Craig, why the fuck are some of the prettiest tosses on the craps table sevens? Why? Like, I don't understand it. The dice look so good in the air. The release is perfect. Landing zone is perfect. Hit on the wall perfectly. And then 7. I'm like, I've made 10 tosses that looked like dog shit compared to that one. They were fine. This one's a 7. What the
The
fuck?
majority of the time when you throw, the way it left your hand, the way it touched an extra finger, the way it stayed on your fingers too long, half second too long, the way the arc is nowhere near the 45 degree that you were practicing, when
Mm-hmm.
it's a 7. But when it fucking grinds my gears, when you're like on a roll, you maybe have hit 10 to 15 rolls, 11 of them have been box hits, and then you're like, and it's like fucking magic and slow motion, and you're watching it go, and it's beautiful. 7, 4, 3, and you're
Yep.
like, how the fuck did I just do that? Because that was the most beautiful thing I ever saw come out of my hands.
Yeah, it happens a lot too. Even like within our AC crew and stuff, right? I know there's a lot of people who, don't like DI and all that kind of stuff. That's fine. All right. That's your prerogative. We and other people we play with a lot practice tossing, all that kind of stuff, right? And
Yep.
yeah, it frustrates me sometimes. And you won't see me get mad at myself for throwing a 7, right? Because I know they're going to come. I know I'm going to throw one eventually, right? Every roll ends in a 7. But I will get a little bit frustrated when the toss looks so perfect in the air, landing, like I said, landing zone's great, minimal energy going to that back wall, and they sit down to 7. That's when you'll see me like, oh, or like, like, why, right? Like, those are the ones that get me, right? Even when I am playing with other people, right? Because there's times, and you know this, and a lot of people, who we play with regularly in the AC crew know, I
Yeah.
don't like throwing at Harris, right? We all know that I'm not the biggest fan of throwing. I will throw, but it's not my favorite table to throw at.
They're
Now,
bouncy.
what does that mean though? Degen turns into blocker degen. So I sit at a spot on the table where I can block. Okay. I can clear landing zone for other shooters. I can watch the shooters to make sure no one's coming to buy in, right? That's what my job is there. But I know everybody's toss well enough to know when it's a good toss and when it's not a good toss, right? And there's times where you'll hear me say, you'll hear other people say, oh, I got lucky. Yeah, I'd rather be lucky than good sometimes. But there's nothing worse than when that toss looks so good, or when someone in the group throws such a pretty toss and you look down and you see 4-3, 5-2, 6-1. There's nothing worse. Like, it literally happened to Lou like 2 weeks ago when we were playing, right? I'm Lou's at stick left 1, right? I am right in the hook, dealer right in the hook, right? Keeping that landing zone clear for Lou, asking him, all right, everyone good? No chips in your way, whatever it may be. And I see him set those dice. Great release. I mean, dice are married in the air, right? Looks perfect. 7. I'm looking, and I'm like, what was Lou setting there? I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, toss looks so good. And like, then, I talked to him later, and he goes, I think that was my best toss of the day. I'm like, yeah, I know. I agree. It looked perfect. Dice didn't even disperse at all. It was a great toss. I'm telling you, like, nothing grinds my gears more when I'm throwing than that. Like, the drink lady could come up to me, whatever. When I have a perfect looking toss and it turns into a 7, Craig, what the fuck?
And it's one of those where when it leaves your fingers and both dice actually look like what they teach you about being on an axis, and they're
Mm-hmm.
together and they're together and they're coming down real nice, and they hit that bottom diamond only, bounce back. They're only like 2 inches from the wall, and
Th-
you're like 6-1. You're like, and the thing
How?
is, nobody around the table, full table, even the dealers, nobody can explain to you how that happened.
No, no.
It's just the universe telling you, "Hi, we still have the advantage." So, and,
Yeah.
and you're like, "Go fuck yourself."
Literally, though, it's really frustrating. But I think a lot of people at home can sympathize, especially people who have thrown dice, and a lot of people who have practiced a lot of the time, right? Like, there's nothing worse than when that perfect toss happens, right? Because yes, like you said in the beginning, right? If that die comes off my hand, funny shit, right? I'm almost expecting that to be a 7, right? But when you toss them down there and they're looking money, and then you see your money leaving the table, what the fuck?
But one of the other things is like it's only 1 pip away from the whole table cheering.
Mm-hmm.
It's one
Yeah.
pip away from the whole, and then the worst is when it is a 7. You don't know how that could have happened, but from your distance of where you're shooting from, maybe if you're shooting from the end and you're going 14 feet, you're the last person to find out that it was a 7. You thought it was a
Yeah.
great fucking toss, and you're the last
Yep.
one to find out that was a 7 out. You're like, what did he say? What did he say?
Yep. You're sitting there thinking
You're
like,
like,
you know,
motherfucker.
you're thinking primary hit, perfect toss, and then boom, no primary. You got a 7. Unless a 7's on your primary set, then you got a primary. You got what you were looking for, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck? All right, Craig, is it time for our top 5?
I love a good top 5. Let's do it.
I love a good top 5, especially coming off a what the fuck. Craig, our top 5 today is top 5 bucket list items as a gambler.
Right. We talked about bucket list items in life. very early on in the podcast. And now we've been playing for years. We have the experience under our belt. We've heard stories. Sometimes we've been on the table when something great happens, but this is the bucket list of items as a gambler. So I'm going to start with you. What's your number 5?
Me number 5. Question for you. Can I have crossed some of these off already?
It's a bucket list, and that's what you do. You cross some of them off.
True. All right. So, my number 5, which has been crossed off already, but it's number 5, is to take a degenerate weekend trip with the boys to a casino destination, play all the games, every table, variety of games. Cool destination, Atlantic City, Vegas, whatever it was. My instance was Vegas. But just a degenerate weekend with the boys in a casino town.
Nice.
All right, Craig, you're number
Nice.
5.
So my number 5 is roll a monster hand at a legendary craps table. Now, I've had great hands at Harrah's, but Harrah's is not a legendary craps table. I've hit the 5-point fire bet at that, and it was fantastic. And it was in front of the AC crew. There were about 5 or 6 members at the table when it happened. But to roll a monster hand at, say, like Caesars in Vegas or Bellagio, just something grand, somewhere grand would be amazing.
There you go. I like
That's my
that
number
one.
5.
I like that one. Craig, we never fail, man. We never fail. You only did one, and we never fail. I almost put this at my 5 too, but I didn't. My number 4 is to have a 2-hour plus roll or a monster roll at a casino with the crew. So I came close. I rolled for almost 2 hours when I was in Arizona, with the boys. Different trip, but I want to do it like you said, right, at a well-known place with a bunch of people who are making a ton of money that I know, right? That trip that I did it on, people made a ton of money. I didn't know any of them. All right. Me and the boys made a little bit of money because I didn't know how to bet. But like, I want to do it with like a crew that can actually take money off that damn table, and hopefully I'm taking money off that table too.
Nice. My number 4 is kind of goes with the art of the comeback and so I'm going to scratch this one off the list. So it was that Mirage when I was down at 226 and I came back and won 806. Now I came back even with a little bit of $6 profit. The point is, I'd only been playing craps for less than a year when it happened. And it happened in Vegas. It happened at the Mirage. So it's like the comeback, I felt electric afterwards. And to feel electric and to have only won $6 profit, it was the greatest comeback I've ever had. So that's my number 4.
I like that one. All right. My number 3 is I want to play in a WSOP sanctioned poker event. I don't play a ton of poker these days, but it's on my bucket list to play a WSOP event.
Nice.
Yes.
So,
number 3 for you.
Number 3, visit a bucket list casino and play the signature game. So we're talking like Monte Carlo, Macau, somewhere exotic. And you walk in and you say, I'm not leaving until I play the game this joint is famous for, kind of thing. Even if you lose, could care less. It's about the pilgrimage to get there and to do it.
I'm giggling over here because so this was like a top of the bucket list item for me, but I did it, so it's not the top of the bucket list anymore. So it's not number 1, but number 2 is to gamble in Monte Carlo, which I did do. I won on slots and I won on the blackjack table, so DGen was a very happy boy. But gamble in Monte Carlo is number 2 because I did it, or else it would be number 1.
My number 2, I kind of have done this, but I'm hopefully there's one that hasn't happened yet, and that is win a bet you had no business winning. So like a ridiculous prop bet. So I want to scratch this off because I had the session at my local Hollywood casino in Perryville where I took a $500 buy-in and I won $22.75 that night. And that was the one where I talked about there were 2 guys at the table. One was in the dealer hook, one was at stick right one, and neither of them could get out of the come out roll. They just kept going back and forth between red and horns. And so I was just building things up, building things up. Then a box number came and he's hitting boxes. He's still occasionally hitting, horn section. He needs the 2 for the small. And at that point, I've built $5 horn high bets because I actually played 2 of them. I played a horn high yo and a horn high ace deuce, starting up at nickels, and I got them up to quarters. And he needed a 2 for the all. And out of nowhere, I'm like, fuck it, quarter on aces straight. And I already had my horn high bets straight. Aces hit. That was an $1,175 or something win.
Nice.
Yeah, it was such a high. So I'm gonna
Oh
cross
yeah.
that one off the list.
There you go. There you go. All right, my number one. We all know I love the ponies. Okay. I haven't talked much about the ponies on the podcast. I
Okay.
love the ponies. Love the ponies. So number one is to place a bet at Churchill Downs at the Kentucky Derby. Hopefully it wins. This one will be crossed off eventually because I will be going. But I want to go to the Kentucky Derby, place a bet there, and hopefully win it. Funny side note, my in-laws did this. They went last year with their friends to the Kentucky Derby. None of them have ever bet on horses. Never.
Couple of mint juleps, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, you had to see them. They were dressed to the nines, looking good, all the, colors, everything. Unfortunately for them it was raining, but
Oh,
they're all there. They're having a grand old time. And they know that I am Pony Whisperer. So I'm sitting there and they tell me before they even went, they're like, you got to text us who we're betting on for this race. Sure, no problem. And them and all their friends go place the exact same bets, the ones I had sent them. Okay. So we're watching, race ends. I'm going nuts at the house. Why? Hit the outright winner, hit the exacta, hit the trifecta. Okay. I almost hit the super, but my fourth horse finished fifth. Beside the point. Anyway, I got a phone call and they're like, one of our friends think we won. Did we win? What did we win? And I'm like, yes, you were at the Kentucky Derby and you just hit a trifecta. Congratulations. So,
wow.
I mean, they were all, boozing the whole day. So, like, they didn't really know what was going on. But I told them, I said, you got to go to the counter and cash those tickets. But I want to do that. So, Derby, bets in Churchill Downs, hopefully winning.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome. Definitely beats my number one. My number one has to be more about discipline. So my number one of bucket list item as a gambler is to walk away at the perfect time. So I have shared tons of stories of when I did not walk away at the perfect time, but just once in my life, I want to experience the mythical, almost spiritual moment where I say, you know what? I'm good, and actually mean it. No chasing, no one more roll, no, I'll just play this last 20 bucks. Just a clean exit. It's like a gambler's unicorn or something, but
There
I
you
just want to
go.
be able to I want to be able to be up, satisfied, and say, I'm out, guys. See ya.
I
It should
like
have
it.
happened
I
last
like
April,
it.
but it didn't.
It should have happened last
So
April.
I can't cross this one off.
Can't cross it off yet, but hopefully soon enough. Maybe in March.
Yeah,
We'll
maybe.
see.
I don't know.
That was great top five. I like this top five list. Bucket list items. Love talking about the bucket list items. And hopefully we'll get a little closer to crossing these off.
Yeah.
But speaking of crossing things off, Craig, got to cross off our tip of the episode. So what's our tip
Our
of the episode?
Well, yeah, our tip of the episode, let me tell you. Our tip of the episode is know your one good bet. What do we mean? We mean every gambler has a bet that they trust, they understand better than any other bet, whether you're playing craps, whether you're playing another game. Specifically, this one's more about craps, but it's that bet that makes you calm, confident, and without emotion. You lean into it, you play it, and everything just feels right. For me, even on a cold table, the world bet just makes me feel good because the
World bet.
world bet is a push on the come out when a 7 hits, and it pays well when it does hit. And if aces or midnight hit, it's fantastic. If you're on a cold table and you just want to go back to basics and regress everything, I just play a world bet.
There you go.
I don't lose it if a 7 comes.
You don't. It's all about the mindset. You got to get the mind right.
Yeah.
I liked it. All right. I hope everyone at home enjoyed episode 31. I know Craig and I certainly did. Talked about some comeback stories, allocating bankroll between games, bucket list top fives. We had a what the fuck. Great tip of the episode. Again, hopefully the folks at home enjoyed it. For the folks at home, you can find full-length versions of the podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. I switched it up from what I normally do. Email is fullofchipspodcast@gmail.com. Short-form content on YouTube's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And join the Patreon. There's some more people joining, which is good. There'll be some more info posted about that. Links are down below. Craig, take us out on episode 31.
Well, first I want to say, and I want to congratulate, well, not congratulate, but I want to thank all the listeners because Full of Chips podcast has just hit 2,500 streams on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to those podcasts. That's a great milestone. You know, that one made me smile today in a chaotic workday. If you have bad beats and you're able to recover, then you won't have to miss out on a near miss, and you'll be full of chips.
On the